All right, so half of everyone in this room exercises regularly. However, we all endeavor to exercise like Lance. Well, maybe not quite like Lance, but as close as you can legally get. Maybe Usain Bolt is a much better example. The technology that I'm going to introduce you to this evening will help all of us train almost as well as Usain. Sounds like craziness, huh? Well, it's true. But first, before I do that, I got to chat with you about sweat. So sweat has gotten a really bum rap. You know, it makes us uncomfortable, it makes us sweat, it makes us smelly and sticky. But did you know that sweat contains a plethora of biomarkers that could provide you with useful physiological information and feedback regarding your muscular exertion, fatigue, hydration level, and electrolyte balance? Well, it's true. Now, imagine if you can quantify these biomarkers in a real-time, non-invasive fashion. Electrozyme has come up with two key innovations that allow us to do this. Number one is the fact that we can fabricate biosensors that exhibit chemical selectivity towards those biomarkers, and these are applied directly on the skin. Number two, and here's the real kicker, is the fact that we print them using widely deployed screen printing techniques. So we typically would produce a sensor for 10 or 20 cents. The beauty of the technology is if you know how to apply a temporary transfer tattoo, you know exactly how to use our technology. So what would a product look like? Well, let's say you go out for a run, or you go to the gym, or you start your sporting event. You would slap on quickly one of our temporary transfer tattoo biosensors. You'd then take an approved fitness watch and interface that biosensor with your phone via wireless. On your phone, you'd get this nice real-time readout, and that would quantify your exercise metrics, the chemical implications and metabolic implications of your workout. The beauty of this is it's disposable. So after your routine, you can take off that printed sensor and throw it away. So what can we make? What can we do? Well, we can do lactate. So lactate is considered the gold standard in exercise training. And actually, lactate, I should say the lactate threshold, is the point at which we start feeling like we're hitting the brick wall. We can tell you before you start hitting the brick wall when you're at risk of doing so. We can quantify electrolytes. So electrolytes are needed for cells to be active. That's actually the reason why Gatorade sells you their sports drinks. We can do hydration as well. So many of you might not know this, but a 5% reduction in hydration corresponds to a 30% reduction in performance. It's quite dramatic. We can also detect ammonia. So I don't know if any of you have been working out heavily and noticed that your sweat smells like ammonia. Well, actually, that means proteins are being broken down in your muscles, and hence your muscles are actually being decomposed. So it's an undesired effect. How would our app look? Well, we try to disguise this in a nice dashboard here, so you have your gauges. So just like in a car, if you rev too high, if your lactate goes too high, you're going to sacrifice your endurance, and you're really going to limit your lifetime. Hydration, on the other hand, is like your fuel. So if you don't have liquid, if you're not hydrated, you don't have fuel to go on. So hence you have this cute guy here. On the other side, the battery electrolyte. So if you don't have charge, you can't go, you can't get running. So that's how we display it to the user. So let's take a step back and look at the competition. Where are they? Well, they're literally stuck in the Stone Age, because every sort of fitness sensor you can buy these days will only be able to do one of two things: measure heart rate or measure steps taken. Nothing about measuring your chemical constituents in your sweat or anything like that. So if you actually look, Electrozyme has the ability to complement essentially any single platform that's currently marketed today. We can do lactate, we can do hydration, anything, and really augment current offerings with added dimensions of rich chemical information to, again, give you added insight into your exercise or fitness routine. Let's look at the market. So 50 million gym memberships were sold in the US last year. The market for fitness sensors that actually track heart rate has been growing at about a 50% compound annual growth rate, meaning that this market is literally exploding. Not only that, if we just look at fitness watches, those sales are expected to reach about 7 million units by 2015, again showing the market is poised for growth. So how do we want to go to the market? How do we want to engage the consumer? Well, actually, not directly. We're actually in negotiations with strategic partners, and under this model, we'd supply them with our printed sensor sheets, and then they would go and sell these sheets under an OEM model branded as their own, and sell them alongside their fitness watch or fitness equipment. The customer, on the other hand, would then, of course, pay for the devices, pay for the sensors. Then the strategic partner would then give us sensor sheet sales revenue as well as royalty revenue. Really, the advantage of this is we're afforded their tremendous domain expertise. We don't have to worry about marketing. We already have distribution channels in line. I mean, we're all good to go. So, as I said, there are about 7 million fitness watches anticipated to be sold by 2015. If we capture conservatively about 10% of those, that equates to about 700,000 devices per year. If the average user uses 3 sensors per week, that equates to about 150 sensors per year, which means we actually have to make and sell 105 million printed sensors a year. If we sell each printed sensor for 50 cents, that means by the year 2017, we'll have over $50 million in revenue just from the sales of our printed sensors alone. It really represents a razor and blades business model where your razor is essentially your fitness watch and your blades are essentially the printed epidermal sensors. So just to take a step back, that handsome fellow on the top is myself. I'm Josh Widmiller. I am actually the technical originator behind Electrozyme's patent portfolio. I have over 40 leading publications in the epidermal biosensors field, and I'm also the winner of the Printed Electronics USA Academic R&D Award. And I'm complemented by my colleague, Jared Tangney here, who's currently a PhD candidate in bioengineering here at UCSD. He holds a certificate in technology business creation from UCSD and is also an analyst at the Tech Coast Angels. We're also complemented by an extremely strong advisory board, which consists of not only the world's most cited engineer, but also the world's foremost authority in the biosensors domain. We also have extensive clinical expertise, as well as members from the national academies. And then we also have a former CEO on our advisory board who was engaged in the development of printing equipment. So where are we today? Well, we've made our sensors. We've thoroughly vetted them in conjunction with the UCSD Medical School. We tested them amongst triathletes and people with more modest fitness routines, probably like most of you and I, and they're working beautifully. With a $20K prize from the Entrepreneur Challenge, what that will allow us to do is it will allow us to create an end-user prototype that will allow us to then approach these strategic partners and really lay the groundwork for a seed round of investment. And during that seed round, we'll work to integrate with their current fitness watch or fitness device offering. In 2015, we're looking at a Series A of $1 million to procure the printing equipment and fund growing operations. So just to reiterate, what you have here is a real platform technology that can accommodate many verticals in the mobile health and military domains. You have a technology that's scalable, that's using widely deployed infrastructure, that's extremely low cost. Not only that, what's unique about the biomedical domain is the fact that our products do not require FDA approval. That's a big plus. The technology is protected, it's proprietary, and Electrozyme has obtained exclusive rights from UCSD for our patent portfolio. We have a strong team who is knowledgeable and talented and is committed to delivering results. And with that, I'd like to ask all of you to help us help you maximize the effectiveness of your workout routine. Thank you.
Hey, questions from our judges?
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
A couple of questions.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about the results you had in terms of subject variability, the time it takes from chemical changes in the blood to get through to the sweat, and applying those sensors to people with a lot of hair?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as far as variability, I mean, all of us are very unique, and we've seen a lot of variability among individuals. Triathletes, we've actually quantified their lactate levels, and they tend to be lower than people like you and I. We have seen quite a bit of variability, but this all is under the encompass of our quantified metrics. Now, as far as seeing the biomarkers, how they manifest with respect to time, there's essentially no hysteresis with lactate because that's directly interfaced with the eccrine sweat glands from your blood to your sweat. Electrolytes, too, very quickly. Hydration, we can do very quickly. Ammonia, there's a slight hysteresis, but for that, you're not talking about immediate information. You're talking about something that maybe a minute or two delay. So we can see most of those in a real-time fashion. And hair. So hair, I mean, if you're extremely hairy, you probably want it to apply to your deltoid or arm where you have less hair, which would be an armband, which we're working on. But we've actually done quite a number of individuals with hair, and they've worked quite fine.
Well, first question is, I have a lot of questions, but first one is, what are one or two things that you can do that no one else can do?
We can measure chemical constituents in sweat, and we can do that in a non-invasive real-time fashion.
What about companies here in San Diego, even companies like Philometron that are doing these smart Band-Aids, or even Sotera Wireless that are doing it in the clinical setting?
Those are physical metrics, so they're measuring heart rate, blood pressure, a bunch of physical
yours
things.
Is chemical.
Ours is chemical. So chemical can provide you added dimensions of insight into the effectiveness of your workout.
And how does your tattoo send the signal from the tattoo to...
Well, it's interfaced with a fitness watch, so the fitness watch has electrodes on the back to communicate and transduce that information.
So the watch would actually fit over the tattoo?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Have you done any market analysis to see whether people actually would use these? I mean, like...
Absolutely. So we've actually had a project in conjunction with a Rady School, and what we found is most people, for 50 cents price point, they're willing to do that for a workout. If it means making their 60-minute workout, or if it means making their 40-minute workout as effective as a 60-minute workout. So if they see that value, they certainly do desire the technology.
Yeah, and we see it really complementary to the heart rate monitor market. It's basically an added level of information that can really help you while you're exercising. And as you can see, that market is exploding. People are really starting to catch on that you can get some valuable information. And this is a whole other level of information that is currently not available.
Now, my argument would be against the sustained use because you assume 105 strips per year. And I'm saying that maybe you do it one time, two times. When people do a routine exercise, after a while, the results are the same, in general. I mean, when you repeat the conditions of an experiment, the results are generally the same. So you do it 2, 3, 4 times, you get the same results. You may not use it anymore because you assume that the results are the same. And that I would argue against the repetitive use to the volume that you predict.
Yeah, so the lactate threshold is actually one of the most easily trainable metrics that you can actually, with more exercise and increased training, you can actually train that to increase your threshold. And it's really the best metric for fitness level. So it's one way to really quantify people's fitness levels. So let's say you're starting to exercise, you want to go and run, let's say you're planning to run a 10K. This is one way you can really get quantified feedback to see yourself getting in better shape. So that's one of the reasons we think people will continue to use them, is because they want to see themselves getting in better shape, and this is really the best way to do it.
One last question here.
Sure.
Look, there's sort of like this stable thing of if you go to the consumer market first, you can't go to the medical market. Did you think about the medical market in particular around hydration?
Absolutely.
I realize you have to go through the FDA and all of those things.
Absolutely. I mean, that's further down the line. We see this as the lowest hanging fruit, but the technology can be scaled to elder care monitoring for hydration, also bedside monitoring and so forth. And really the technology can provide a lot more accurate results than the current metric, which is galvanic skin response. So we can actually look at chemicals and see how their concentrations are.
So exactly, this is the lowest hanging fruit. This is the easiest way for us to start to penetrate the market, prove that the technology works, and then exactly the economic burden of elderly patients being hospitalized due to dehydration is multiple billions of dollars per year here in the U.S. So there's huge markets out there that we're going to look into going to after this sports and fitness market.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.